know, many legislators have said to me, well, there's other things out there people can take. Well, yes, they can take OxyContin, and they can take Vicodin, and they can take morphine, but there's some things to be said about those products. First, all of those products do not work for every patient. Second, those products are addicting. Those products are dangerous. Those products lead to overdose. And let me repeat something that I've said before. At no time in the history of the world has there ever been an overdose death by marijuana. But every day, people take those other products and overdose. And I have legislators say to me, well, Representative, we can't have teenagers getting into that marijuana. And I respond by saying, how come you're not worried about teenagers going into the medicine cabinets of their parents who are on these serious and addicting narcotics, and they're taking Vicodin, and they're taking OxyContin, and they're taking morphine, and they're taking in the pill parties every day? That doesn't seem to bother you. And so we've got to change the direction of this conversation. And now we have some members of the chiefs of police of the state of Illinois sending letters out to legislators, not only attacking the bill, which they can certainly do if they feel that's appropriate, but attacking the motives of the advocates and attacking the motives of the sponsors. My motive is not to turn all marijuana over to all people at all times. Chiefs of police are not telling the truth to these legislators. And that is why all of you sitting here and all of those who are aware of this issue need to continue to call your legislators. Our motive is to provide relief from pain and suffering to those who are in pain and those who are suffering. Plain and simple. There is no other hidden agenda. This is our goal. The next speaker today is someone who's well known to all of us. He's been a healthcare advocate for many years, and as I understand it, the personal physician to Governor Pat Quinn, Dr. Quentin Young.
Thank you, Representative Lang. I'm very pleased to be here on this urgent matter, and I hope this effort and others supporting it will result in passage by our House of Representatives. I understand it's already passed the Senate. And I do pledge that when that passage in the legislature occurs, I will lobby the governor. I haven't asked to stand on this, but I certainly want to make sure that he understands the importance of this legislation. It's also useful to share with you the fact that the medical profession has no controversy on this to speak of. In this state alone, 1,000 physicians have signed petitions urging the passage of this bill. And across the nation, as some of these charts demonstrate, 14 states have already indicated support for this kind of access to pain and suffering relieving drugs. Please, if you have a moment, look at the chart to my right and look at the variety of illnesses, which are very common: pain, epilepsy, seizures, a long list of very common but very debilitating issues. The previous speaker who indicated she was at the edge of suicide is not exceptional. These kinds of ailments can drive otherwise healthy people emotionally to that desperate final act. I hope very much that this state joins the other 14 and in the movement to get decent health care. The profession, the medical profession, has in effect supported it. Let me mention just 2 examples and I'll subside. The American Medical Association, the premier organization of doctors, has urged in 2009 that the federal government study these effects and with an eye toward making this part of access to medication for people with these problems. The year before, American College of Physicians, which is the largest specialty group in the country, this is a group that we internists belong to, made the same request of government. So the support is there medically, the support is there in terms of the patients who need this help, and we can't let parochial political considerations block this important legislation.
Thank you, Dr. Young. The next person would be Dr. Margaret Miller, a family practitioner from Moline, Illinois. She has more than 20 years' experience caring for patients in that area. Dr. Miller.
Well, it was kind of a gut check for me to politically, openly support this bill. Like many of my doctor friends, talking one-on-one, they think it's a good idea, but when you say, okay, will you go out and write the letter to the editor, they're just not quite ready to do it. I wasn't either. But over the last 5 years, I've been increasingly troubled by the use of Vicodin and OxyContin. In our community, we're seeing an epidemic of overdoses and deaths. And it was on a Tuesday when I came to my office and found out a patient for the second time that I had seen the day before was now dead with the prescription I gave him, that I decided I was no longer going to use Vicodin for pain, except in very few circumstances, but definitely not for chronic pain. It lowers your brain's ability to handle pain. In the anti-aging area in which I'm involved, it plummets men's testosterone level. And if a man doesn't have testosterone, their ability to tolerate pain goes down and depression sets in. The number one cause of death now in 26 and under is no longer car accidents, it's overdoses. And the vast majority of them involve Vicodin and OxyContin that are being misused. And we see it, we're seeing it in our actors and in our celebrities over and over and over again. So when you don't have a good product like that, you got to look at what we can do, and looking at the pipeline of what's coming out for pain management. About the only thing is a drug that blocks the side effects of opiates, the two side effects being one, constipation, and the other one, a tendency for opiates to encourage blood vessels that feed cancer to grow, which no one talks about until now. They've got a drug that may block that, so now they're starting to talk about that. But there's nothing else coming down the pipeline. We need a safe drug. We need an effective drug treatment. And we have it. We just need to pass this bill. So I hope people, when I came out with this, my patients overwhelmingly supported me. Doctors overwhelmingly supported me. Fortunately, both of our newspapers in the Quad Cities came out with editorials from the publishers supporting this. So I encourage them, I encourage you to take your stories to your representatives. You know, many of them were telling me about when their husband had esophageal cancer. Thank God their kid smoked pot because he couldn't eat, and that helped his appetite. Tell your legislature, call your legislature. We all have stories. The vast majority of people support it. Don't be afraid to get out there and let your support be public. I can take your stuff.
Next will be Reverend Al Sharp, the founding executive director of Protestant